50.724.
Before I take you into the lap, I want to just show you off the garage here. I didn't change anything besides the steering pinion. I like to run a 2.87, so I just changed that, and I left the brake bias alone, as well as the MCs. Now as we head down into turn 4, I want to mention that I did this on my first lap, so I just brought it out of pits and then got ready for my lap. You can run 2 laps, you can do it on your second lap, but you can also do it on your first. So what I like to do is try to run my first lap as hard as possible, and if I don't have a good turn 1 and 2, then I set up my turn 3 for my hot lap, just like I'm doing here. So this was lap 1 that I set this time on. And be on the brakes hard, so we get lined up with this extra bit of wall that it gives us. See how the wall extends out there? We're gonna put the car in that. You have to be really slow, otherwise you plow into the wall. Now that we're here, we're off the brakes. We slow down before we get here. Before we got in this extended wall area, we slow down the car all the way. So now we're off the brakes. We're gonna enter this extended wall area. Now that I'm in it, I'm picking up the gas. Not much, just picking up the gas to carry the speed. And I'm going to start turning down the car as soon as I see this Geico sign. I see this Geico sign, I can pick up the gas and turn down the car. So we're going to turn down about a lane. Turn down about a lane to this seam. And that's when we see this turn 4. When we see this turn 4, we know we can turn down another lane to that seam. And now that we're down to this seam, we're going to look at the start-finish line. And don't forget to increase the throttle. I picked up the throttle and then I went full as soon as I started turning down. Turn down here, go to full. Bring it to the second seam. Start looking at the start-finish line. Now you're going to aim for the intersection between the start-finish line and the apron. You see that yellow line in the start-finish line? Aiming for that intersection right there. I'm going to take this bar right here and bring it right across the intersection. If you go too far, or if you go too shallow, the car can spin out. It also helps to have the wheels straight when you're going over this, when you're going on this apron. I know a lot of people can have trouble spinning out here, so make sure your wheel is straight. Mine's not perfectly straight, but it's close enough. Wheel straight, and you're going at the start-finish line and apron intersection. And after we do that, we're aiming right for this wall. You're going to get as close to the wall as possible. As close as possible at hitting it. See, I'm right up next to it. I can show you the far chase. Right up next to it. I actually recommend going out and hitting the wall, just so you know where it is. And then getting as close as possible. Because you don't want to hit that thing during qualifying. See, I know where that wall is, so I'll go right next to it every single time. Now, after we went right next to that wall, we're going to need to set up for a turn 1. So go right next to the wall, set up for turn 1. Now you're going to be as close to this wall when you're entering turn 1, so we got to go back on the track. We got to get out there before we get on the brakes. So we're going to get on the brakes and be on a straight line, so we got to get out there before we get on the brakes. See, I get up as soon as I'm up, I get on the brakes. Just at the second cone here is when I get on the brakes. Keep it in 4th gear. Even though it maxes out, we can still keep it in 4th. Brake at the second cone, and we're going to be barely on the brakes. Barely on it. 30%, maybe 20%, just barely on it. And what I'm aiming for is this yellow line that shows where the apron is. Here for the yellow line, we're going to turn in pretty early. We're turning in pretty early because we want to break in a straight line. So how can I make this turn as straight as possible? You go down to the apron. See how much wheel I have in it. I barely have any wheel in it. Trying to keep the car straight. Trying to keep the car straight. Still on the brake. I even increase it right. I increase it right here because I feel the car is going to slide up. And I don't want the car to slide up, so I use my brake to prevent that. But you do want the car to slide up, and you want it to slide up about half a lane. So don't slide up all the way to like 2 lanes or 3 lanes, which is why you use the brake to prevent that. But you want to slide up 1 lane because you want to make the exit. So we're going to do a little diamond shape. Go under the apron, use more brakes so you don't slide up 3 lanes. Then get off the brakes so you only slide up 1. So I get on the brakes so I don't slide up 3, but I get off the brakes so I only slide up 1 lane. Gonna get this bar on the seam. The bar on the seam so you keep your left side tires below the seam. Now that I have drifted up the track to the seam, I'm off the brake. Drifting up the track to the seam, I'm off the brake. And I'm putting more wheel into it at the same time, because this is when I want to turn the car. When I drift up to the seam is when I want to turn the car. No longer going a straight line, now I'm trying to turn. So this was all a straight line. Keep it a straight line. And as soon as I drift up the track is when I'm trying to turn. I use a lot of wheel. I did not mean to do that. Let's go back to the lap. That was a pretty bad mistake. There we go. Pressed the wrong button. Alright, we're here again. Look at us. Okay, so we go down the track, and that's when you get back on the gas. You're turning the car. When you turn the car, you get back on the gas. As soon as you feel that car turn down off the seam, you turn down onto the apron. That's when you get on the gas. So turning down, increasing the throttle. And when you increase the throttle, you can start bringing the wheel back. And I'm going to have a really straight exit. Just like your entry, you want your exit to be really straight. So drift up, turn down, get on the gas. Now you turn down back to the apron, so we're making a diamond shape. On the apron, drift up, turn back down to the apron. To the apron. And as we're doing that, we're increasing the throttle, so I start off with half, and then slowly rolled into it. The back end will want to kick out if you go full throttle here, so as much as you can without the back end kicking out. Now that we've kind of crossed the pit road entry, once we kind of pass this point, this dot right here, this kind of looks like a semicolon. Once we pass that, we can go full throttle. Now the back end does want to spin out still, so use your wheel to control it. You see I went back to center here, using the wheel to control the car, the back end. And keep it off the wall. So I kind of dance with the wheel input. Right there. Keep it off the wall. Now we're going to go into turn 3. I have my eyes on the cones. This cone's right here. There's 2 and 3. My eyes are on the 2 cone because I like to brake at the 2.5 mark. 2.5 mark right here. In between the 2nd and 3rd cone. Now my eyes go to this wall because that's where the apron is, and we're going to go all the way down the yellow line. So 2.5 mark. Eyes are down here. I'm on 40% because if I went any more, the tires will lock up, and you do not want tire lockup. Now remember, in the race, the draft is going to make you fly down the straightaway. So in the race, I would back up to this 3rd cone. Unless you don't have the draft, then you can stick with this 2.5 marker. 2.5, 40%. And then we lay off that 40% once we get further into the corner so the tire doesn't lock up. And we're looking at this wall because the wall will eventually reveal the apron. And we're going to go just past the wall before we get to the apron. Just past it on the apron. Just past it on the yellow line. There we are. Now you notice, just like in turn one, we try to keep the wheel as straight as possible. Try to keep that braking zone straight. We do have to do some turning, but it's not too much. Now that we're on the apron, we can start turning in more. You see how much you see how little brake I put in it? Just trying to roll the center now. The entry was all about not locking up, and now that you're there on the yellow line, you want to just roll the center without pushing. You don't want to push your car off the center, off this yellow line. Just roll it on the yellow line, and it's so easy to get back on the gas. It's so easy to get back on the gas right here, but you don't want to because you will plow into the wall. The car gets so tight if you get back on the gas here, so just wait. Be really patient. Now it's hard to do, but you have to do it. Be patient by looking at this Geico sign. Once that Geico sign catches your attention, then you can get back on the throttle. Notice here you can barely see it, barely see it, and now you see it. Now you can really see it. That's when you get back on the gas. Oh, there it is. Get back on the gas. Roll in the bottom. See the Geico sign, back on the gas. Just like turn 1 and 2, I'm not going full throttle right away, because that would plow me into the fence. But I do a roll into it. I go about 90 or 80, and then I roll into the rest. I'll give you a strong exit. That way you won't be tight. Just be really patient. As you do that, you can unwind the wheel. See, I'm on throttle, so I'm unwinding the wheel. Though you still want to turn down because you want to get off the wall because it's banked. The banking will help you catch an extra millisecond of speed, so you just turn down right there. That's 27,444.